Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, where we're asking the franchipreneur who owns one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed about owning your own business, then you've come to the right place. And segment 2 is being brought to you today by Franchise Interviews, LLC. And Franchise Interviews gives you an up-close and behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get insight tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show on Blog Talk Radio, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisors, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and franchise attorneys. And our monthly franchise newsletter, which is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. And don't forget to check out our new podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. Well, today we have a great show, Don. We have the pleasure of meeting with 1-800-Radiators, Mr. Kelly Grace, who's the Vice President of Franchise Development. And 1-800-Radiator is one of the fastest-growing franchises in North America. 1-800-Radiator delivers brand-new radiators within 2 to 3 hours to its local customers and next day to customers outside the same-day area. Hey, Kelly, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Marty, Don, good morning. How are you?
Good, Kelly. How you doing today?
Good morning. Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
That's good. Thanks for coming back, Kelly. Kelly, we always like to start off telling our listeners where you're calling from today.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, great. And your headquarters, Kelly, is in California. That's correct?
Yeah, our headquarters is in Benicia, California, just outside of San Francisco.
Okay, that's fantastic. And that's where the company actually started, too, isn't it? That's
correct, yeah.
That's fantastic. And Kelly, I know you have an interesting background, a little different. How did you get involved in franchising? What were you doing before joining the 1-800-Radiator franchise opportunity?
Well, like many people in the automotive parts distribution business, I was teaching 6th grade in the Oakland Unified School District, so definitely not the obvious precursor to this kind of work.
Right, which is interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because, I was researching the franchisees for 1-800-Radiator, and it seems like a lot of them have diverse backgrounds as well, too, Kelly. They come from, corporate America and all sorts of places, so you really don't have to have that automotive background.
That's right.
That's interesting.
And teaching, Kelly, probably, you have to have a lot of patience, I guess. Sales and marketing, I guess that, of course, helped you, any type of background, especially teaching, having that patience in what you're doing now, trying to build a franchise, being involved in the sales and marketing and so forth, right?
Well, absolutely. There's actually some surprising parallels, and that translate pretty well in the business environment, and it has a lot to do with organization and planning, just being prepared. So and I think that's one of the things that we've done really well at 1-800-Radiator.
And maybe tell us about the history of the company a little bit, Kelly, please.
Yeah, well, the owner is Mike Rippey, and he purchased this business, I want to say about 16 years ago now, from a gentleman by the name of Mike Holcomb, who started the business over 25 years ago. And Mike had worked in the aftermarket, the radiator business prior to, starting 1-800-Radiator, and he had a lot of insight and saw that the industry was going through some pretty significant changes. Back in the old days, most of the radiators were made of brass and copper.
Right.
And so, most people would just take their car into a shop and get it repaired. A lot of times you had to have it soldered or, recored. But it got to be more cost effective as radiator manufacturers started selling directly, just to purchase a new one with a warranty on it as opposed to getting it fixed. And so we got in, very early during that transition, and that's really benefited us. It's helped us really establish, some strong relationships with a lot of the vendors out there that make radiators.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting, Kelly, because it's, I was doing a little research. It says there's 220 million cars on the road today, and I guess a radiator, does it go after, typically, is it 8 years they need to?
Yeah, usually 7 or 8 years. It's that's typically when you start to see radiator failure.
Right, which is a pretty big market, right.
Yeah, and we do quite a bit of collision repair part replacement as well. So, that's another dynamic that's helped us. Just about any front-end collision will involve a radiator and an AC condenser.
That's interesting.
I was going to ask that, Kelly, as far as, every business needs to be a little diversified. That's interesting. That's, I guess, another income area for your franchisees handling the collision. I imagine getting to be more than the radiator part of the business as far as income?
Well, it's probably about 12 to 15% of our wholesale business, which is about 80% of our customer base. And these would be, mom and pop shops to major collision repair chains to parts stores and fleet accounts as well. So one of the things that 1-800-Radiator has done very well, and we pride ourselves on being a very data-driven technology company. So we think of ourselves first and foremost as a sales marketing company.
Right.
And a lot of the candidates that I talk to understand that and are attracted to that in looking for businesses. They're all looking for something fairly conservative, that's not subject to swings in the market. They're looking for something that has, long-term growth potential. And we offer that, just by the nature of this brick and mortar type of industry, but our approach is entirely unique in that we're the only franchise distribution company out there. So you have an owner-operator with a lot more buy-in with our buying power and someone who's able to utilize the technology that we've developed. We have a pretty sophisticated web-based point-of-sale system. And so, when we come into a market, we know it very well. We have a lot of data on the population, the number of shops, the breakdown of the type of shops, and how best to price these customers, and service them and market to them. So that's worked out really well for us, especially over the last 3 years.
And it seems like it was a given with the 1-800-Radiator name that it was going to be a franchising system. When did you say the company started franchising, Kelly?
Well, I started with the company a little over 5 years ago, and at that time we had 28 corporate warehouses. So, if you were in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and you were a shop and you called 1-800-Radiator, your call was being picked up at our call center in Benicia.
Right.
And we would ship a part to you out of our local warehouse. And so it wasn't the most efficient system. You had 3 or 4 people involved in what should have been a fairly simple transaction, which meant a lot of opportunities for errors to take place.
Right.
So when I started with the company, I think that Mike probably had it in his head that he needed to grow the company in order to gain market share. And I think probably in that first year that I was with the company, he had his sights on growing it rapidly, but also doing it in a way that would create the kind of performance that we were seeing at corporate warehouses that were closer to California, where we had a little bit more control, to create that sort of infrastructure. And I think he saw the best way of doing that was to provide an owner-operator, a protected territory within, give him the framework to work and grow, his area and develop his own customers. So, it was probably about 4 years ago, I think.
Right.
So really, since you've come on, there's just been a lot of growth. It's just getting better as time goes on for new franchisees. And that's going to be my next question. When you're talking to a franchisee, how do you describe the 1-800-Radiator system to them, Kelly?
Well, it's interesting because usually the first thing that I need to do is sort of debunk the idea that this is a sort of a roll-up-your-sleeves, grease monkey kind of business for car enthusiasts. We certainly love talking to people that understand cars and have a passion for them, and I talk to a lot of those guys, and I think they can have an advantage coming in and talking to shop owners. But really, the types of owners and candidates that I talk to, are more interested in margins and in the cost-effective nature of the business. It's such a simple model. The hours are pretty forgiving when you stack it up to some of the retail and food franchises out there that require 7-day-a-week owner-operator involvement.
Right.
So a lot of the guys I talk to like that this is a Monday through Friday deal with usually 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah, it's interesting because I imagine a lot of the prospective franchisees that come to you, Kelly, they are looking for, we always say franchising is a means to an end. They want to perhaps spend more time with their family, I'm
Absolutely.
sure I suspect you see that a lot, so it is interesting. It seems like a fairly easy sale, too, Kelly, I suspect, when you're getting into training and stuff like that, training your guys. It can't be, I guess, a very difficult sales pitch when you're on the phone or meeting prospects face-to-face, I imagine.
That's right. It's a pretty simple approach, and that's why we've done well with people that wouldn't normally consider themselves sales-oriented.
Right.
I talk to a lot of guys that have, pretty good business management experience, and they understand the business logic of it, but they haven't done, face-to-face sales before. And
right.
And isn't necessarily a deal killer. I mean, most of the shops that we talk to, they don't have a lot of time to sit down with you. They're answering their phone, taking care of customers, so they want you to kind of get to the point. And what we're offering is a product they're already using, so it's not a door-to-door vacuum cleaner deal.
Right.
So the best approach is usually to just let them know you're here. Go over the quality that we carry, and we bring in our vendor sheets, and guys in the industry know that we're very focused on quality, and we back it with a lifetime guarantee. So there's a lot of tools that these guys can use without having to oversell or get aggressive with shops. That help.
That's interesting.
And I guess that potential franchisee, that investor, like you said, Marty, over 220 million cars around the country.
Right.
I mean, that's combine that with the hours, with the with the strength of what you're putting together there, Kelly. It seems like it's a real nice fit. And let's face it, a car's a necessity. Your product's a necessity. Once something happens, they have to get it. So that's that's a nice situation for your company to be in.
Yeah, that's right. And that was one of the attractive things that Mike Rippey saw in the business early on. That a radiator's not a nice to have. Right. So whether the economy is up or down, when you need your car. And I hate to say it, but even in the last couple of years, as the economy's gotten a little tighter, that's benefited, I think, our industry indirectly, because people tend to hold on to their cars a little bit longer.
Interesting.
So there's a greater market, I think, for part replacement.
Yeah,
good point. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
It is. Yeah. What I like too, Kelly, is the repeat sale factor. I mean, it seems like the most difficult sale is always getting the first sale, but it seems like because you guys are so customer service oriented, you're getting that repeat sale, which is just so important. It really turns into a nice business. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What role has technology played in your business? In my research, it sounds like a lot, actually.
Well, it's funny. If you ever visit our headquarters, it looks more like a bank than an automotive type of business.
I've seen the website. Yeah, it was quite impressive, actually, with the call centers and everything. Yeah, it's just incredible.
I think we have more software engineers there than customer service reps, but
incredible.
The technology has been the cornerstone of the business.
Right.
We're, like I said, we're a very data-driven company, so we like to make decisions based off of sort of a proven model, and we do a lot of testing, and it's shaped the way that we market not only to wholesale customers but how we sell to retail. And we have several different websites, and we can track the effectiveness of the aesthetic and how they're ranking in search engines. But what we offer to franchise owners that I think is the most effective piece of our technology is within the web-based point-of-sale system that we've created, which is extremely user-friendly and was made for people that don't have that comfort level with computers.
Right.
We wanted it to do the thinking for them. It tracks everything that your customer is doing when they get a quote on a part, when they buy a part, when you've changed their pricing. So using that data in a pretty streamlined CRM, customer relationship management database, our owners in 2 point and clicks of a mouse can look at real-time data that shows, who their customers are and what their volume is, so that they can filter that data to come up with a marketing strategy. And we work very closely during the grand opening and our 2-week marketing blitz in ongoing with franchise owners to help them understand the data.
Right.
But essentially, it's telling these guys where they need to spend time and with whom, how they need to price their product, what marketing campaigns that they've run had an impact. So, as these guys sell product in their territories, they're accumulating, data that is informing them on how best to approach their market. And I think by spending a little bit of time to utilize that data, you can get some pretty good direction on, what approach your market needs, based on your competition. And,
It sounds like technology is really making a difference, setting you apart from your competition on both sides, the product itself and also how to market. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, it's really useful, and we're light years ahead of our average competitor, with the data. We don't like to guess at how we should price, and we don't want to guess at, why we're up or why we're down in market. So that's really given us, I think, a key edge.
Yeah, even your e-catalogs, too, I was researching, Kelly. I mean, it's just amazing all the money that's actually saved today, using e-catalogs. You think about the old days, 15, 20 years ago, mailing these things out had to be very expensive.
That's right. Yeah, we've done a good job with that, and are still working on technology right now that'll take us to the next level, in developing and making it easier for our wholesale customers to order product and check on pricing and inventory.
That's incredible. How big is the industry? Is there any dollar amount, Kelly, as far as your industry?
I think it's a $6 billion a year industry when you look at the HVAC air parts and radiator combined.
That's amazing.
And so it's astonishing. It's one of those niche markets that's you wouldn't think is as big as it is.
Exactly.
But,
that's interesting.
What's been the most like a lot of the people we interview, Kelly? Usually something interesting goes on at the history they've been at the company. I was just going to ask, what's been the most interesting thing that's happened to you since joining the franchise company?
It's hard to say because it's changed so quickly. I've worn a lot of different hats, and that's one of the things I love about working with 1-800-Radiator. But I think the thing that personally I enjoy most about this company is that they're very big picture, and it's the complete opposite of a highly structured corporate conservative environment. That because they can measure performance and data, whatever has worked is what they'll go with. So I've enjoyed the autonomy I've been given and the freedom I've been given to to do my job. And I think the thing I enjoy the most is going out and visiting and meeting with candidates that are looking at our model, because you're meeting with somebody who's on the verge of transitioning from a corporate environment where he works for somebody else,
right,
or
she's tired of her job, or they got a little bit of capital, they want to invest in the business, they're not sure what's right for them yet. And when I meet with them, it's always exciting to see someone who's at that sort of place where they're about to make a major decision, and it's exciting. And I think
not only that, the success stories as well. I imagine the people you're hearing who are successful and happy in the system, I guess, is a good feeling too.
Absolutely, yeah. And I stay in contact with a lot of the franchise owners now that have been up and running for 3 years that I talked to when they were kicking the idea around initially. So that's been fun, seeing how hearing about what's gone well for them and what they've done that's worked, and I really enjoy working with our owners.
That's great.
Yeah, I see your point about the just being at the company at a nice time. So you're really going to, you're there helping with the growth, and there's just so much more potential. It's a good, that's a good time to be at a company. And like you said, you have the freedom to kind of utilize your skills and so forth, as opposed to the example you used of a company that's, where it takes a lot, maybe a lot of red tape to be able to do things. It seems like you have some nice freedom there.
That's right. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, I can't say that I've ever worked for a company like this or ever will again that's had the unprecedented growth and has changed its models, so dramatically.
Right.
While I've been on board. So that's been really exciting.
That's great. What about the location, Kelly? Let's go back to the location. Is location important for a 1-800-Radiator franchisee, or how much space is actually required?
Well, a warehouse should probably be about 3,000 square feet.
Okay.
It used to be about 2,000, but as we've grown and added product line, if a candidate is getting into a 2 or 3 year lease, in a warehouse, they're probably going to want a little extra space. So about 3,000 square feet.
Okay, good.
Would do it. As far as where the warehouse should be, that's very important, and we work closely with candidates to help them find a spot that's logistically sensible to give them the best opportunity to service customers quickly,
right,
but also something that's cost effective. And the good thing about our business is, since this is distribution, you don't need expensive commercial storefront. You just need something near the interstate that can keep your radiators dry.
That's absolutely, it's important.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point right there, which I guess is another selling point to an investor with 1-800-Radiator, that or to just speed up the process to get in business, because a lot of people can't find that location for a specific type of franchise. It can cost them months. I've heard a lot of stories, my company being in financing, Kelly, that people can't start up, they can't find that location. Mm-hmm. I guess for your business, it's just not as extensive.
Yeah, it's the warehouses we have really run the gamut as far as what they look like and where they're at, but there's some consistency in how we set these up. And, because these are protected territories and we're not a company that's going to open up a warehouse down the street because the market's been so good to us, we can't afford for any of these locations to fail. So with each step of the process, from the first phone call that I have with a candidate, to getting them up and running, it's critical that we do it well, that we get them started on the right foot in the right location, and so we are pretty careful from an IT point of view as far as, making sure they're in a place that obviously has internet, and will be, logistically smart as well. So
is that something that's handled in-house as far as helping someone find a leasing location, or if you utilize some outside specialist to help a franchisee in that area?
We do it in-house, and we've got a couple of different accounts with companies that allow you to look at commercial real estate. So we can do a lot of help there. A lot of the candidates I talk to call me because they have a warehouse already, or they already have a few places in mind. So sometimes it's pretty easy. All we need to do is look at an address that someone's given us and give them the go-ahead on it. And other times we're pretty hands-on and have even sent people into the territory to get out on foot. Sometimes the old-fashioned way is how you have to do it.
Exactly.
What types of characteristics do you look for in a franchisee?
For the longest time, we've been trying to nail down who the prototype is, so we know how to market to them and attract those types of people. But we've really had success with a diverse range of candidates. So we've got people with very different backgrounds that have done really well in this business. So I think there's just a few key things that we look for, and much of it has to do with personality. Because our systems are so user-friendly, you don't need to have an IT background. It's not what we're looking for. So we're looking for people that we would buy a radiator from, someone who's gregarious and is not afraid to go out and make 15 or 20 sales calls a day,
right?
And would manage people well and motivate people well. So, a lot of the people I talk to, I can sense that right away in what they do currently at their job.
So you mentioned earlier you don't really need someone to have a sales background, just someone who's outgoing. I guess part of your system and training and everything could discuss all the specifics. But I guess someone having that nice personality, that's probably going to be good enough to help sell.
That's right. I mean, it's really so much of this is about personality, and just how motivated they are to grow the business. We're obviously looking for someone who wants to invest in growing something that they're going to own, and so we steer away from people that maybe want to buy multiple territories and hire people to run them, to run like a master franchise model. It's not to say it couldn't work, but we look for someone who really wants to take the next step and be actively involved, on a day-to-day basis in growing the business. So, how
important is prior business ownership?
I think it can certainly help, but it's not a prerequisite. I think having run a business before, you may have an advantage as far as understanding how to put cost and sales projections together and, what to realistically assume as far as growth. But I think what differentiates our franchise model from so many businesses is that a lot of our franchise owners typically hit a break-even point or start netting, within their first year. And I think that's unique in most businesses. It takes a couple of years before you get to that point. So, I mean, obviously we don't promise profitability, and each market's a little bit different. But when you look at the numbers, if you're running an average, cost structure and you're not overwhelmed by debt service, with our model, I think that, the economics are definitely there. So even someone who hasn't owned a business before, I think we work pretty closely with them to help them understand that, very early on. And we want to make sure that we manage expectations so that before day one, owners have a pretty realistic idea of what to assume and what they need to do.
That's interesting. What's the training like for new franchisees, Kelly? Does it take place at the corporate headquarters, and how long are they there for?
The training is very comprehensive. An owner will come out to corporate often with someone they've hired or with their husband or their wife. They're going to be involved in the business. They'll spend a week in California, in the San Francisco Bay Area training with us. And then after that, when we do a grand opening, we usually spend about 2.5 weeks in the territory on site with our sales team. And during that time, our sales reps will go out and visit a lot of these wholesale customers and introduce the new owner to the market, and talk about how they'll get same-day delivery instead of next-day service, and drop off some promo materials. But we also do a lot of on-site training. So what the owners learned at corporate will be put, in a practical application environment. So by the time we leave town, they should have a really good frame of reference for the business. And then, ongoing, there's a regional salesperson that's assigned to that territory. And, that regional salesperson has to be able to explain to Mike Rippey why or why not an owner is doing okay. And so you've got someone who's got an incentive to make sure your staffing is where it needs to be. You understand your inventory management and your sales. So.
Fantastic. What is a typical day? Like you kind of hinted, Kelly, for a 1-800-Radiator franchisee?
Well, I think, a good franchisee rolls in, maybe 7:15, 7:30. Make sure their phone person is there. Plans their work for the day. Maybe has a visit list. Some customers they want to go visit. Maybe some bigger buyers. Or some new buyers, people who've never bought before. They'll have a delivery driver that'll usually show up probably around 8. And I think a typical day, the average owner is going to want to spend 3 or 4 hours out in the field, going out and generating business. And it's important for an owner to be able to manage from the inside out and understand how to do some of the day-to-day things. But, I think that it's really pretty simple. Maybe half of a day out in the field and half of a day at your warehouse, seeing how the calls are going, who called in for quotes, putting away inventory that comes in. It's pretty simple. I think by 5 o'clock, you're reconciling your orders from that day and, getting out of there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's fantastic. You get to spend, the rest of the day with your family, so great.
And there's no time for lunch, right?
Well, that just depends on who you are, I suppose. But I think there's always time for lunch.
Right, absolutely.
What advice, Kelly, would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur looking to buy a franchise? You mentioned a couple good things with the characteristics, but as far as someone listening to the show right now, what advice would you give them? You've been in franchising a little while.
Sure. Well, we've got, I think, about 15 territories left for sale, and I've spoken to a lot of franchise candidates, and I think that the advice that I would give is to do your homework and to have a pretty clear-cut goal on the type of business that you want to get into. Look at the quality of life, what kind of money you're hoping to get out of the business, and look to reconcile those two things and do your homework. And I think that would be it. If I was looking into this myself, I'd want to make sure that the company I was with was supportive, that I was on board with the culture of that company, not just the territory I was looking at, but or the business, but what do the owners have to say about the corporate, the support they're getting. That would be key for me.
Yeah, it's so important.
So a lot of your prospects, I imagine they would call existing franchisees. It's a great way to really find out what's going on with the franchise. I imagine that happens a lot.
We're very transparent at 1-800-Radiator, and I would much rather work intensively for 2 weeks with a candidate to find out that it's not a good fit than to rush somebody into anything, because that's not good for us, it's not good for them. So, we encourage candidates to talk to as many owners as they can, ask them a lot of the questions, where does the tire meet the track, from what I tell them. But we help them put together a business plan, and we go over our systems with them. A lot of times they'll come out to California and meet with us at corporate. So, I think if you spend a good 2 weeks, 3 weeks looking into it, you're doing yourself a big favor, and that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, it's a long-term commitment. Marty and I talk about that all the time. There's a lot of different things to look at. Besides just the investment itself, you got to look at yourself. And we talked a little bit about the hours someone would have working this type of business. Someone has to really think about that aspect. Think short and long term. So it's a good point. You bring up, Kelly, to really make sure someone has thought out this whole thing because of the type of commitment that they're going to have.
That's right.
What do you always compare it to, Marty? What do you always call franchising?
It's a marriage.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes 10 years, yeah. What are 1-800 Radiators' plans for the future, Kelly? I mean, it sounds like you guys are going to be sold out in the near future as far as territories go.
I think it's twofold. One thing is, as we patch up these remaining territories for sale, we want to continue a vertical growth model within these areas that we're up and running in. So what we're doing is expanding the product line that we're carrying so that we have more product to offer our wholesale buyers. And the beauty of the wholesale business is once you've got storage and a marketing plan in place and distribution, you want relevant high margin items in-house that you can give to that you can sell to your existing customers. So it's going to be product line expansion. We're getting into crash parts. So, we want to continue to make inroads and growth with our collision repair customers. Mirrors and fan assemblies, and last year we got into the HVAC air part kit, so that was really key for us. The other thing is acquisition. We've had a very busy acquisition schedule, and right now I think that people within our industry are seeing the sea change that's taken place over the last couple of years, and smaller independent radiator distributors are seeing the logic in teaming up with us or maybe getting out of the business. It's been tough for them to compete, and so we'd like to continue with that. We want to continue to be the largest radiator and cooling parts distributor in North America, and so and that's gone really well. I think we're a little ahead of schedule from where we thought we would be when we started this, with just number of locations open and where we're at with getting into new product and the acquisition schedule. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Kelly, about any international growth. Sounds like maybe you've started that, or that's going to be happening soon?
Well, we've got markets in Canada right now. I think we have 10 locations with a couple more that are set to open up here this fall. So we've done very well. We're really pleased with what we're seeing there, and we're always open to considering international markets. We haven't made a big push for attracting candidates yet, but we've talked to a few people in Costa Rica and some of the Latin American countries. So I think that's an exciting prospect for us. It's not 100% where our focus is yet, but I can see us getting into that.
That's fantastic. Kelly, we have about 30 seconds. What's the best way to get more information on becoming a 1-800 Radiator franchisee?
I think www.1800radiator.com. So 1-800radiator.com would be a great start. Anyone can call me at 866-780-9392. I'm available anytime. I'd love to talk with anyone that's interested in what kind of territories we have available, and any general questions they have. That'd be a great start.
That's fantastic. We have links on our websites as well. So, and I want to thank you again, Kelly. You've been a fantastic guest, and I'd love to have you guys back in the very near future as you guys continue to grow.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Marty and Don, and I really appreciate the time.
Thanks,
No problem,
Kelly. You have a great day today.
All right, you too.
Take
care.
Bye-bye.
Great show, huh, Don?
Yeah, interesting.
Very interesting concept. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Again, I was kind of unfamiliar with them when we, when I found out we were going to have them on the show, and researching them just sounds like a fantastic concept.
Yeah, I mean, you think of it as just, they're all about distribution and having the warehouses and different type. It's not like your typical, say business on a main highway. This is a whole different.
Exactly. It doesn't seem like a very difficult sale to me either. That's something that I always think about. I mean, everything is selling, and the sales pitch I don't think is very difficult. And, what I love most about this business model is the repeat sale. I mean, once you get that first account, and it seems to me that they do very well in providing the service, they're going to get that repeat sale over and over and over again. So it just sounds like just such a great business model. I was kind of thinking of Warren Greshus as Kelly was speaking, about the whole importance of prospecting, just kind of getting out there 3 hours a day and just making, phone calls or just, seeing, as many prospects as possible. It just seems like that's all you have to do with this type of business model, you know. So it's just a very interesting concept. I'm glad we had them on the show.
Yeah, I love the name of the business. I like the fact they're diversified, and it seems like that's a growing segment of their business, the whole collision process. Because let's face it, there's accidents all over the place. I mean, it's why my car insurance is so high. But
there you go. Absolutely. I know. You know, one thing I forgot to mention, too, was that 1-800-RADIATOR was ranked number 37 by Entrepreneurs, one of the fastest-growing franchises. So, you know, so he did a great job. It was fun having him on the show. This week we have, Thursday we have, who was it, Tom Skurda, don't we?
Yes, from Franchoice. He's been in franchising a while. You know, looking forward, of course, to that.
Tom's gonna motivate us as well too. So he does a lot of different things. He's actually a motivational speaker as well. So he knows about entrepreneurship and motivation, and so it's going to be a fantastic show. So you did a great job, Don, and I guess I'll be speaking to you this week.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks.
Take care, Don. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.